"You're terminated, Miss Thompson. Effective immediately." The words didn't echo. They detonated right there in the Hilton conference hall between the brunch platter and the promotional keychains nobody needed. The president's voice cut through the speakers like a knife on glass. Sharp, slippery, scripted. Rebecca's query hadn't even landed fully when it struck. "Could you explain why the Q4 2023 risk assessment from internal ops never showed up in the investor filings? Even though compliance verified its delivery in..." Boom, that's where it ended. She hadn't shouted, hadn't dramatized, just lifted her hand and steadily voiced a concern she'd harbored for weeks. That concern had edges, but so did Rebecca, or at least she believed she once did. Now she stood rigid, clutching a blue notepad like it could block a sea of staring faces, a sea of whispering lips. Someone cleared their throat, someone snickered, her gut churned. "And let this be a lesson," the president drawled, gaze gleaming under fluorescent beams that we value input but not sabotage. The whole hall turned statue still. Security didn't grab her, but they loomed. She shifted awkwardly, limbs heavy, cheeks burning, past stacked plates, past her supervisor's shocked stare, past 3 temps filming the session on devices they feigned weren't recording. She exited, one shoe scuffing faintly on the carpeted floor. For a split second, she thought about pivoting, uttering something bold, but her words were lost under her feet, trampled and dismissed. She reached the foyer. That's when she sensed it. Footsteps trailing her. Deliberate, costly, not guards. "Miss Thompson," she spun slowly, reflexively. It was her. Olivia Grant, woman avoided spotlights. She scarcely contributed during earnings calls. When she did, markets quivered. Her fortune had a 0 for every year of Rebecca's career. She halted inches away. "No jewelry, black pantsuit, eyes like iced tea. Could you," she inquired softly, "restate that query for me?" Rebecca blinked, her lips parted. Nothing emerged. Her mind, still reeling from the jolt of instant joblessness, stumbled over its reasoning. Regarding the filing records. Q4, the operational risk eval. It was filed, but Olivia nodded once. No grin, no elaboration, just a nod like a judge's ruling. Then she pivoted and strode right back into that hall like 0 had transpired. And that's when she sensed it sparking amid the humiliation, amid the buzz in her ears. Something, a spark, a glint, not triumph, not quite, but the antithesis of loss. The sort of spark you detect right before the tempest arrives. And for the first time in minutes, you don't seek shelter. By the way, if you're still tuned in and not just sorting mail to this turmoil, do me one small solid. Tap subscribe. I'm aiming for 10,000 of you fabulous Turmoil fans, so I can continue unveiling these business melodramas. Don't force me to plead like IT at a fishing workshop. Rebecca stepped out of that venue into a misty November morning, unemployed, infamous, slightly toxic. She didn't reach her vehicle before her corporate email locked mid-swipe. Just a gentle login failure and a looping doom circle. No alert, no will contact you. They weren't merely finished with her. They were attempting to wipe her out. Rebecca didn't rest that night. She perched on her mattress edge, still in the cardigan she'd donned for the investor summit, glaring at the wall like it held solutions. Her tablet buzzed faintly in the shadows. Open Teams window flashing access denied. Her business mailbox stalled mid-load, and the final dispatched note to her lead ignored like a specter in the system. Every eye shut brought the president's smug sneer. Heard how he snapped sabotage like she'd torched a shrine instead of posing a query on a vanished assessment. By 3:47 a.m., she'd spiraled full doom, CV wrecked, profession buried in a tainted ops stigma, her contacts likely prepped by counsel. Her personnel dossier revised, cleansed, armed. Then pinged the alert. LinkedIn fresh invite, blank avatar. Name, Alex K. Bio, Ops Advisor freelance. No employment log. Single link. Her note. Witnessed their move on you. You nailed it. Her digits lingered over the keys. Initial urge, erase it. Ban the profile, torch it. But a twinge in her core stirred. She tapped accept. Instantly the account evaporated. Profile deleted. That's when her mobile vibrated anew. Alternate platform now. Authy duo auth glitch, then another. Her firm dashboard, the one for pulling secure ops files and audits, abruptly blocked. She attempted her backup route, the legacy staff portal. This profile is inactive. A shiver deepened beyond job loss. This wasn't mere severance. They were purging her methodically, like she'd never been. Like the docs she handled, the annotations she added, the eval she lodged, none had grazed their drives. Except it had, and she knew the spot. Rebecca pushed her tablet away and unearthed the ancient Seagate portable drive unused since 2020. Still bore the label from her prior desk. "Ops, we spot stuff you miss." She connected it. A soft chime, then directories unfolded on screen. Supplier Risk 2023 interim filing tweaks. Horizon Initiative Compliance Edit V2 draft. Nestled in archival mire was her trail. Not all, but sufficient to affirm she wasn't delusional. That eval existed. She'd lodged it. She possessed the date stamp proof. She began duplicating, sorting, tagging each odd risk score anomaly, each unexplained tweak in the supplier eval code. Each instance counsel said, "Beyond our scope." She even unearthed an aged doc of a Teams chat where a newbie ops hand queried, "Do we need to purge this?" And her lead responded with a thumbs down emoji. At 5:19 a.m., she brewed dark roast from a dented cup reading Globe's Ops Whiz and eyed an expanding directory named, "If I sink, you dive too." This wasn't crisis management now. It was battle ready. They hadn't merely axed her. They were vaporizing her. But Rebecca had what they lacked. A recall like a vault and the proofs to align. The note didn't arrive via standard mail. It hit via Tutanota. Header, "You don't recognize me, but I recognize that eval." Rebecca opened it sharp, just I was once in ops review. Departed pre-cuts last cycle. Voluntary, not forced. Spotted your tag in the date stamp of an eval purged before investor scrutiny. Someone commanded its grave. You were spot on to probe it. Attached. A sole pick. Thickly censored capture of a deer structure. At base, a file name Horizon Sub Q4 RT72 doc. She didn't require a cipher to grasp RT72. Her staff code. Hers. It was the precise eval she'd pushed into the ops system prior year. The one she'd marked to counsel with a pair-line alert. Mismatch in supplier risk metrics, likely internal adjustment. Advise, please. No response until this. One clear date stamp in the pick. The eval marked stored under 36 hours post her push. Not cleared, not examined, stored. A cyber term for bury this and act like it vanished. She gazed at the display. Her pulse hammered, but her palms steadied now. Fury has a method of smoothing the fear, distilling it to keener. He replied, "Got extra?" No answer. Instead, 15 mins on, she received a ring from a familiar digit. Mia. They once shared breaks in the third-floor lounge, swapping sarcastic Sudoku clues and griping on the ventilation. She'd been in procurement. Reserved warm, not the informant sort. She spoke tight. "Hey, I likely shouldn't dial," she began, but heads up. HR's circulating stuff. Stuff, she halted. That you were overwhelmed. That you could have... cracked. Something on your conduct being off recently. My lead, Nina, said HR chief informed her you'd been noted ages for volatility. Rebecca silent. Couldn't. The ire coiled in her neck like fog. "Oh," Mia tacked, "and they're hinting you fabricated the evil. That it wasn't real." She nearly chuckled. It escaped like a growl. "Tell Nina," Rebecca stated, tone rigid as a locked bolt, "that the sole volatile element about me is how many backups I crafted of that eval." She disconnected pre-reply. The defamation spread swift, quicker than anticipated. They weren't just clipping bonds. They were scorching the path so none trailed. Stress concerns. That classic tactic. Business Mind Games 101. She launched a fresh file, named it Smear Log. Each dial, each remark, each soul who abruptly hushed. She even vid-captured Mia's message, voicing it as done. Wednesday, 9:28 a.m. Mia from procurement verifies HR disseminates volatility tales. Logged. If they aimed to depict her volatile, she'd demonstrate how structured MAD could be. The Tutanota ping flashed again. Others exist. We're observing their response. You're not solo. Rebecca didn't beam. For the initial since exiting that hall, she sensed something equally perilous. Momentum. 3 days. That's the duration the quiet endured. Long enough for Rebecca to doubt all. Long enough for the Java to fail and the rush to evaporate. Into something sour like old tape glued to her ideas. Olivia Grant hadn't rung. No messages, no attorneys, no veiled gestures via discreet LinkedIn DMs or temp mails, zilch. For all she knew, her soft nod beyond the hall was mere elder courtesy, kind pity for the unhinged lady fraying before a coat rack. She started curling inward. Perhaps she'd misconstrued. Perhaps Olivia was merely performing the tycoon variant of applauding the odd child in the recital. Emotion, void and safe. She was mid-tagging docs for a fresh reserve deer. Proof 4 acted if lawsuit. The ring arrived, hidden digit, Boston code. She pondered responding, then did. Half habit, half tedium. Rebecca Thompson, a guy queried sharp, quick yet not hurried. Yeah, this is Liam Hartley from the Business Gazette. You've likely caught our tag in the investor buzz. I haven't, Rebecca fibbed. Well, straight up. Care to remark on your informant role? Rebecca stilled. My what? We're dropping an article. One key stakeholder, Olivia Grant, tipped us on the investor session. She didn't elaborate much, but labeled you a figure of ethical sharpness who posed queries the execs dodged. Rebecca's throat parched. Liam pressed on. She declined on record past that. But you're cited. Soft cite, but present. So, inquiring, were you cut as payback for informing? Rebecca eyed her board. She'd pinned memos in a design now resembling less proof wall and more sentimental collapse in hues. She delayed. Is that your angle? That I'm an informant? Well, are you? That term. It rang so neat, like something with a line in manual. Not like her ordeal. Not like server locks at 3 a.m. Not like being dubbed volatile covertly. Not like viewing an eval fade into business ether. But yet Olivia voiced it. Not her. She'd tossed her name into the gale softly but deliberately. She hadn't hallucinated. I suppose it hinges on definition, she uttered at last. Liam laughed. We'll note that as tentative remark. We go live tomorrow. Rebecca ended sans farewell. And now the quiet signified otherwise. Olivia had listened, had trusted. She didn't dial 'cause no need. She'd already positioned her. Now she was a token in play. Rebecca was mid her fourth loop of the identical 4-min snippet from the investor meet. Her tone even. Firm. Resounding into void just the president mangled her name in public axing when it struck. Not epiphany, a key code. Deep Vault 287. It was a discard line she'd employed when the firm shifted its inner storage to a remote data center. One of those interim archive setups all swiftly overlooked once the Fresh Ops platform launched and entombed it under bells, alarms, and auto wipes. She recalled not accessing that setup in over 3 years. Not since using it to hand back her annotations from a supply risk forum, 'cause the inner lead kept oops deleting docs misaligning with the IR team's aims. She signed in. To her astonishment, the center lived. Dated interface, awkward dire paths, clunky type screaming Vista vibes, but alive, and within, all. Versions of annual evals unpublished. Mail threads where directors debated if risk scores could be innovatively projected on anticipated mitigations. A note where counsel literally penned, if we ignore the mismatch, legally it vanishes. Then the prize, a wiped ops overview for Q4, timed 5 months post Rebecca's initial eval stored. Someone had extracted her insights, erased her tag, reframed it to a mild caution that system sync glitches rendered full risk audit unfeasible that period. In essence, files misplaced. Nudge, nudge. They didn't enter the fact, they rebadged it. Rebecca gazed at her display. Each window a fresh type of breach and fresh exposure. This exceeded one eval. It was firm-wide habit of polishing lapses into promo lingo. She compressed the files, tagged the Dear Investor Bundle, BAnon Origin 02. Then she made a temp mail. Then located the distro list, the one her former pal once displayed her, chuckling, "These elite types will view any with divest in it." At 3:12 a.m., she dispatched. Header. Examine promptly. Risk issues VLT Holdings. Then she bided. Not long. By 8:04 a.m., inner teams at her ex-firm ignited like a fest tree on steroids. Someone from tech leaked a capture. Why's the old Deep Vault Center active? Who greenlit the info spill? Wipe reserves ASAP. Then who blasted this to stakeholders? The president untagged, but counsel was. Then, a blunder-dropping informant in public chat. HR swiftly nuked the convo. Not another staffer captured it and PM'd Rebecca from a temp Discord. Not alone. Rebecca eyed the mayhem from afar. For the first since this kicked, she wasn't responding. She was directing. And hidden in the file she'd dropped, the one entry she knew would spark wider alarm was a flagged item as revised mitigations. Supplier guess only, linked to a subcontractor that supposedly hedged risks with predictive tools. But in actual figs, those tools were phantom. The risk offset's fictional. Rebecca had only released 1 bundle. She held 5 more, each sharper. And this round she wasn't torching spans. She was igniting them dual-sided. Rebecca scarcely finished her toast, dry 'cause jam seemed too hopeful, when the initial note hit. Temp tuta nota. Header, not solo erased. Inside, a photoed contract, censored signs, date stamp from height of prior year's efficiency drive. The note below short, just I was in risk check. They compensated my exit and silence. Didn't state I must erase memory. If you release this, omit my tag, but persist striking. Attached, a note from identical inner ops center Rebecca just hit. Outlined temp skips of core fiscal markers in period filings, labeled strictly for inner eyes. Rebecca leaned in. The wording slick, sunken slang, but she parsed it like code. The skip permitted recasting supplier payouts as risk hedges in select periods. Decode, turning rebates to safety points. By the time she launched Discord, her pulse was a march band. Another note, no words, just upload. Flash risk log ultimate to RTC. Rebecca knew the initials pre-open. RTC, sure reserved top copy. She prepped them in period risk scans. They weren't routine briefs. They were tailored, muted summaries dispatched solely to brass, purified for story flow. This flash differed. Unpurified. Parallel charts monitoring flexible procurement distributions, benign sounding till she matched suppliers. Charters, luxury stays, leases in towns sans firm bases, rider rosters tagged associate. One name snagged, Ethan Hartley, the president's nephew. 4 jaunts to Aspen, 2 to Maldives, all charged under supplier eval check. One entry even noted, premium transport, elevation optimized route. Rebecca nearly gagged on her crust. By afternoon, a third note via encrypted audio. The type-wary devs employ pre-dropping NFT schemes or exposing Fed orgs. The audio warped but steady. We crossed at the 24 risk retreat. I was on audit end. Stayed mute 'cause mortgage and college. But your vault file rattled the nest. Execs scrambling. And extra. Search vendor shift note V5. You'll spot it. Also, solid move with bundle name. Daring. Then snap. Rebecca opened fresh sheet. Inbound tips confirmed. She started structuring all. Labeling proofs. Linking phrases. Her workspace resembled a litigator's nightmare. And still, the line from her initial temp link lingered. You were spot on to probe it. All this from one query. Exed a mid-tier ops analyst. They overlooked she indexed infractions. They overlooked she archived all. And now her aim razor keen. No more hesitation. No more recoil. This wasn't vindication now. It was revelation. 'Cause folks like Rebecca don't seek payback. They bring proofs. The note was a gem of business evasion. Evasive wording cloaked in corporoma and stamped on stationery likely pricier than Rebecca's rent. Header. Recent press by ex-staff R. Thompson. It started with empty opener, as you might have noted in latest titles. Then it turned vicious. Rebecca portrayed as mentally strained, likely lashing from private grudge and most stinging, displaying traits of erratic conduct in her closing employment weeks. No signs at base, just office of the president. But all knew the author, the intent obvious, undermine the source, tarnish the lady, deem her sentimental, illogical, retaliatory. What the president ignored, the note escaped. In 2 hours, captures circled on forms under header President Mind Games ex-staff, gets owned. By day's close, it struck Glassdoor. Directors liking then de-liking so rapid it mimicked a pulse graph, and then Olivia Grant at last acted. Not overt, not yet. But rumor via a trust chain Rebecca learned to rely on. Olivia sought a closed exec huddle. Urgent subject, management trust audit. No schedule, no logs, no IR crew in space. Hours on, a planned media event to reveal the firm's fresh risk vision 2035 quietly pulled from sight. No cause but timing unsubtle. Rebecca, meantime, had prepped her ultimate play. The one she'd vowed only if they hauled her rep through firm dirt. And oh, had they hauled. So now she gifted the web. The doc release modest basic, a 4-page scan. Header. VLT procurement trail V2 inside. Payout shifts from a reserve in Nevada to chain of marked foreign units in Cayman and Belize. Bill logs from VLT procurement. A ghost entity sans staff, sans address, sans EIN till 4 months post-initial shift. The end sheet, a sign chain, Inkle, the CEO and president. Rebecca added no notes, no intro, just the papers, just the facts. She posted it to an accountability board under handle Thompson was there. Then she stepped from her device and brewed a brew she couldn't splurge on employed. In 5 hours it exploded. Forum posts, blogs, invest Twitter. Is VLT procurement the fresh wire card? She wasn't off. She was ahead. Olivia Grant's hush suddenly deafening. Twist wasn't Rebecca truthful. Twist was her query. The axing one. Wasn't the true outrage. It was the gateway. They constructed the whole op on phantom hedges and channeled funds. Rebecca didn't sense glee. She didn't sense conquest. She sensed lucid 'cause this exceeded her. Never truly hers. They attempted to craft her the tale, the diversion, the fall guy. But now the tale pulsed alone. It was embedded. The exec space at VLT's uptown high-rise wasn't built for battle. It was built for show. Oak desk, suede seats, dim glow making all seem pricey and managed. But when Olivia Grant entered that dawn, the vibe flipped like a fallen blade. No aide, no crew, just Olivia and a craft envelope under arm, like a medic confirming the scans you dreaded. Seated sans delay. No intros, no chat. She pushed the envelope over the desk and uttered plainly, "This is the sole query of import." The chair blinked. The president abruptly very mortal licked lips. One director fidgeted. Another faked leafing pages they'd scanned. Then a tone from left. "I propose vote." Another echoed. "Backed." Olivia didn't beam, didn't wince. "Proposal active," she noted. The stream widened. Hands rose, gradual, then flood. Rebecca's display glitched with the cyber resonance of myriad outcomes. She perched iced, palm on lips as the space voted near total to halt the president and COO now. Lock all brass pay till audit done. Kick full probe into foreign deals and bogus risk statements. Then the capper. Olivia rose, one extra proposal. Someone sighed. Olivia, she dismissed. "I propose form a fresh, autonomous risk panel, reporting straight to holders with rotating lead. Initial stint handled by the lone soul in this space with nerve to pose the right query." She faced the lens. "Rebecca Thompson." Rebecca spilled her tea. Froze. For an instant, the display locked on the president's visage, his look imploding like a vault hit by a ram. Jaw agape, gaze blank, all collapsing. Olivia receded. The space didn't burst in cheers. That's not real Sway's style. It settled like rubble post-blast. Rebecca eyed the display. She hadn't sought command. Hadn't even sought recall. She posed a query. And now she was the resolution. Not victim, not insurgent, not even icon. Just a lady who declined hush. And in a setup forged on quiet, that was thunderous. Thanks for joining the fun. You office survivors. Subscribe for more switch-flicking drama.